So let's talk about the $1 million land investing reframe that's going to change everything for you. Now, before we get into this video, please, for the love of goodness, give this video a thumbs up. It really does go a long way. So there's a fascinating phenomenon that I've seen inside of Leah. And at this point in our 12-month group coaching program, we've worked with over 400 plus investors. And I've noticed a fascinating phenomenon. Now, on one side, it's a dangerous trap. And on the other side, it can be the greatest reframe that you ever have in your land business. Here's how it goes. The trap is that we believe that land deals come to us served up on a silver platter. This is partially a byproduct of people teaching bogus information, which looks like, hey, send out some letters, get some leads, get some deals, make a lot of money. If only it were that simple. You see, the part that they leave out of that formula is the acquisition process, which truthfully is about 70% of this business. Yeah, marketing matters, yeah, data matters, but what really matters is what do we do with the leads once they come into our CRM? That's the part that every single coaching program that I've ever looked at royally misses. And it's to the detriment of their students. And so it's this kind of information that's led people to believe that deals are gonna come to me, they're gonna look pretty, the seller's gonna be ready to party, they wanna sell at 40 cents on the dollar, I'm gonna make $100,000 on one flip, it's gonna be awesome. Now, if you are sending enough marketing, those deals do exist. So it's not completely false. The trouble is we can't build a business off of that. That's like the little lottery ticket. You know, you send 50,000 mailers a month, you'll get one or two of those a month for sure. You send 5,000 of those a month, you'll get one of those a year maybe, one every 8 months. It's very, very infrequent. Most deals look really messy. Now, I know right now all of the rage is messy title. That's not really what I'm talking about. What I mean by messy is two-part. Either the property is messy, both literally and metaphorically, or two, the seller is messy. So let me clarify. What does it mean that the property is messy? Well, it could be as simple as the fact that there's a bunch of trash on the property, but that's not necessarily what I'm getting at. You see, if you look at the kind of properties that most land investors buy, they're right down the middle. They're the middle of the road properties. They're definitely not the nicest, and they're definitely not the worst, but they're right in the middle. In fact, maybe they're a little bit underneath the midpoint. You know, they're kind of a funky triangle shape, or they've got a weird road intersecting it, or it's got like a power line easement or a natural gas easement on it, or it's got a 30-degree slope in the back with a little wetlands. You see, that's the typical property that we're dealing with, because these kinds of properties typically have owners that have a low intrinsic connection to the property. Right, if you own that 10,000 acre ranch in Texas that you've been going to since a little kid, you probably have a pretty deep attachment to that property because it's beautiful. It's objectively very, very, very nice. Now, we do come across objectively nice properties. I'm not saying all the deals we do are bad, but most of them aren't perfect. Now, sometimes there's things that we can do to make them a lot better. We can get a perk test, we can do some brush hogging and clear the front of the property, we can do some trash removal. There are definitely things that we do to increase the curb appeal. But most of our deals have a little funk on them. On the flip side, messy sellers. Well, that could be as simple as, yeah, there is messy stuff with the title, but it goes way deeper than that. It's the seller that has 6 siblings that kind of want to sell, but one wants a higher price, and they go off and on and off and on. They're hot and they're cold. Or it's the kind of deal where the seller's going to be traveling for the next 6 months in Saudi Arabia, and they won't be ready to make a decision until they come home. Or it could be the seller that is currently in the hospital getting open heart surgery, and they need their kid to have power of attorney to sell the property to. All of those are pretty typical occurrences. And truthfully, a lot of times these things actually overlap. Now, the beginner land investor looks at those and says, no, not for me. I'm gonna hold out on bated breath for what I was promised, which is the easy deal, the good property, the great seller. So I'm gonna hold out, I'll push those to the side. I know something better is gonna come. The expert land investor looks at those and says, oh, there's opportunity, because there are problems that I get to solve. There is value that I get to unlock that everyone else is passing on. And that's the best form of arbitrage. The best form of arbitrage is the arbitrage that's right in front of everyone's face, but they don't see it, or they don't understand how to actually unlock it. So the professional land investors look at that and say, this is actually an encouraging signal for me to go further with this. Now, of course, there are limits, okay? Your 2,000 square foot property with a 90-degree angle on the side of a cliff is not an indicator that you should keep on working the deal. Or the seller that's legitimately clinically insane and one day says they love you and the next day they're gonna, is not someone you should be pursuing. So of course there are limits to this logic. And the reason this is so important to me is I've seen multiple Leah members who get stuck. They're 6 months in, they sent out 10,000 pieces of mail, they say, Sumner, it's just not working. I've got nothing to show for it. I say, cool, let's look at your CRM. Well, I did get 30 leads from those 10,000 mailers. I said, okay, cool. Well, are you working any of them? No, they were all bad properties. Really? Let me go through them. I go, look, well, this property looks fine. Yeah, but I didn't really like the fact that it had like a little bit of wetlands on the west side of the property. You mean it had a 1/4 acre of wetlands and it's a 30-acre property? That concerned you? Yeah, I didn't like it. I figured buyers wouldn't like it. Okay, interesting. What about this seller? They said they wanted to take 50,000 and you were offering 45,000. Yeah, we couldn't make a deal, man. Okay, interesting. What are the expectations here? Well, I was looking for a deal to come to me. No, we make the deals. The lead comes in and we make the deal. And that's the reframe, guys. The reframe is get excited when deals have a little funk on them. That's an indication that there's a problem that you can solve. And frankly, I don't think you should get paid the big bucks unless you're solving a problem. Sure, you can get dumb lucky. Sometimes it just happens. But are we going to build a business on dumb luck where you're doing nothing and getting paid for it? No. Who wants to be involved in that business? That's disgusting to me. Oh, we just send out some mail and people sell us our properties for 60% off and we make a lot of money. That's the business? No, the business I'm a part of is we send out marketing. Some people raise their hands. A lot of people just want to see what the property's worth. Okay, we can't really help you, but a good percentage of them actually have a problem that we get to solve and we get to reap the rewards because of it. Now, you can take this idea to the nth degree, which is essentially what folks are doing today with the messy title stuff. And I'm all for it. I think that's awesome. But the problem is, most people still haven't mastered the basics down here. They couldn't make flipping work because they never spent the time to get really good at it. And so they're always graduating to the next thing. It's this perpetual hopping from, can't really make this work, let me try subdividing. Can't really make that work, let me try messy title. And people go and jump and jump and jump and jump. But the problems are always gonna follow you. Like if you couldn't make this work, you're probably not gonna make the next thing work for the next thing. Or maybe you make it work for a little bit, but then you're gonna be on to the next. And it's just this vicious revolving door. So I think those additional strategies are beautiful. Add them to your repertoire, but don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. This stuff still works. It works phenomenally well, but you yourself have to be phenomenal. The story that's been sold to you about sending mail and getting deals is a fugazi. It's not real, and it shouldn't be real. What a stupid business idea that you get paid a lot of money for sending out some letters and then people just sell to you at a discount. There's more to the story. And unfortunately, not enough people have covered that story. I hope this video was helpful. I'll see you guys in the next one.